Welcome back to the channel. This is part 24 to Road to Becoming a Champion chapter 24, an eventful day. It was late in the evening now at the Pokemon Center, and the group had just eaten their supper. Misty was in a sullen mood the entire time, since Psyduck was now her Pokemon. Nurse Joy was rather amused when she found out the Psyduck she had taken care of for so long decided to join Misty. When Misty practically begged Nurse Joy to take Psyduck back, Nurse Joy politely told Misty that it was better off with a real trainer. Of course, Misty wasn't heartless enough to just release Psyduck back into the wild either. In short, Misty was stuck with it. I still can't believe that thing entered my Pokeball without my permission, Misty mumbled. Oh come on, Misty. You've been complaining all evening. Isn't it time to quit? Ash asked, getting annoyed. He and the rest of the group were tired of listening to her. What would you have done if Psyduck had entered your Pokeball, Ash Ketchum? Misty asked heatedly. I would have been happy to make a new friend and welcomed Psyduck in like all of my other Pokemon. Ash retorted as they entered the lobby of the Pokemon Center. Misty sighed. Fine. Whatever. Then, without warning, Psyduck's Pokeball opened up, and Psyduck popped out with a cry of sigh. Who said you could come out of your Pokeball? Misty yelled out at it. Really, Misty? Haven't you been wanting Psyduck out of your Pokeball all evening? Serena joked, only to have Misty give her an intense glare. Psyduck then ran over to Misty and hugged her leg affectionately. It was so happy to finally have a trainer. It found someone who could take care of it, someone to love and care for it, someone like. Just get back in your Pokeball, you annoying duck. Misty yelled. Sigh? Psyduck asked, looking up at her with a heartbroken expression. Upon seeing Psyduck's face, Misty sighed. She then massaged her temples to try to relieve the headache she was getting. The others were right. She could at least try to like Psyduck. It may be extremely goofy, but in no way an unpleasant Pokemon. Okay Psyduck. I suppose we can try to be friends, but for now I need you to return, Misty told it kindly as she pulled out its Pokeball and returned Psyduck to its Pokeball. Despite what you're saying now, Misty, I bet you and Psyduck will end up becoming great friends, and it will become your favorite Pokemon, Brock told her. The group sat down on one of the couches in the lobby in front of a large television set. They were ready to wind down for the night, and would just stay up for another hour chatting or watching television, before heading off to bed. Pikachu hopped off of Ash's shoulders, and onto his lap where it curled up, and let out a yawn. Ash scratched it behind the ears, and thanked it once again for a job well done at the Pokemon Gym earlier. So moving away from the topic of Psyduck, how are you feeling about the Battle Chateau tomorrow, Serena? Ash asked her. I feel great. I'm definitely going to win it. Serena answered. You know, Serena. This is the last time you can face just anyone at the Battle Chateau, Brock informed her. What do you mean? Serena asked. Once one becomes the rank of Countess in the Battle Chateau, they are put in a special division, where they can only face trainers who have achieved that rank or higher, as well. You may be even facing gym leaders at that point and beyond, Brock explained. I didn't know that, Serena said as she looked down at the floor. That small dust bunny near the couch suddenly looked very interesting. That must have been something Hennessy didn't tell her. She thought the Battle Chateau was a place where anyone could face everyone all the time. After some thought, she realized it made sense that higher-ranking members of the Battle Chateau were only allowed face strong trainers, as well. Serena looked at the 4 Pokeballs clipped to her belt. Ash had already captured enough Pokemon to where he would need to rotate, while she only had 4. If she were to continue rising in ranks at the Battle Chateau, she would have to capture more Pokemon and get a lot stronger like Ash. Hey, Serena. There is a commercial on TV for the Battle Chateau tournament tomorrow, Misty informed once she realized Serena seemed to be deep in thought. Really? Serena asked as she snapped out of her thoughts and drew her attention to the television in front of them. The Battle Shadows across the region will be giving out a very special prize at tomorrow's tournament to celebrate 1 full year of being open, a disembodied voice announced. To the winner of each tournament tomorrow, in addition to rising in rank, they will receive the rare Pokemon Eevee, also. The television then showed a picture of the aforementioned Eevee posing in a very proud stance. Eevee was a Pokemon that vaguely resembled a fox. It had long pointed ears, brown fur with a cream-colored underbelly with brown eyes and a small black nose. Don't miss this opportunity to win the rare Pokemon Eevee as your very own Pokemon tomorrow. Sign up at the nearest Battle Shadow today, the voice said before the commercial ended. Wow. An Eevee, Ash said in excitement. He then looked over at Serena. Wouldn't that be great if you won tomorrow and got Eevee? I've always wanted one myself. Yeah. It would be great, Serena answered. An Eevee was an extremely diverse Pokemon and would no doubt add more variety to her team. She then looked at her Pokeballs and realized she needed to get some training in before the Battle Shadow tomorrow. She knew she needed to get stronger if she were to rise in rank. I'll see you all later, Serena said as she stood up from the couch. I'm going to be in the field outside the Pokemon Center if you need me. It's getting a little late to train, isn't it? Brock asked. I'll be fine, Serena replied as she left. Serena stood out in the field and released all of her Pokemon. She then kneeled down to be more eye level with all of them. Okay everyone. I know it's late, but that doesn't mean we can't get some practice in, right? Serena asked, receiving a nod from her Pokemon. Jigglypuff then began to sing, but was quickly stopped by Serena. No, Jigglypuff. Not singing practice. I meant battle practice. Poof, it said in annoyance as it puffed its cheeks in anger. We can listen to your singing later, Serena sighed as she rested her face in her palm in tiredness. Jigglypuff decided that was acceptable and nodded its head. Serena stared at each one of her Pokemon and thought about what areas they all could improve in. It was no doubt she had a diverse group of Pokemon, which was good. However, they all seemed to know very few types of attacks, which added no variety to them. What can I do to make my Pokemon stronger? What can we work on? Serena thought to herself. It was then Serena remembered that EM's Flint had given her way back in Pewter City. She believed he said that EMs contained Dig and Ice Beam. There was no doubt a few of her Pokemon could learn these attacks. After reaching into her backpack, Serena pulled out the machines and looked at them thoughtfully. Her Pokemon stared up at her expectantly. Who do I want to teach these moves to? There is no doubt they will only help my Pokemon. Do they even want to learn these moves? Serena thought. She then decided to ask for their opinion. Okay, everyone. I have in my hands 2 TMs. One has Dig and the other has Ice Beam. Do any of you want to learn these moves? Serena asked. Charla, Oddish, and Nidoran nodded their heads, while Jigglypuff looked away to the side. It only decided to use its natural strength, and didn't want help from anything to be stronger. A star shall only rely on the power it is born with. So I guess that leaves you 3, Serena said while gesturing to the others. She then realized something. Oh, Oddish. I'm so sorry. You aren't compatible with any of these moves. Oddish looked down sadly once it realized it wouldn't get to learn any new moves at the moment. It was then Serena heard footsteps behind her. She turned around and saw Ash and Pikachu approaching her. Hey, Ash, Serena smiled once she saw her crush. You're still up? Yeah, Ash replied. Pikachu and I decided to come out here and see how you were doing. You seem to have a lot on your mind. I do, Serena confirmed. I've realized I need to love and train my Pokemon a lot harder than I have been doing. I see the incredible bond you have with your Pokemon, especially Pikachu, and wish I could have that bond with my Pokemon as well. There is no doubt I love them, and they love me, but our relationship doesn't seem to be on the same level as some other trainers. I think you have a great relationship with all of your Pokemon, Serena, Ash told her. I've seen you bond with every single Pokemon you have so far. If you don't believe me, I'll tell you right now. Charla loves fashion and shopping just as much as you do. Nidoran shares your love of good food. Jigglypuff never would have overcome its singing problem if it wasn't for your help, and Oddish was a sad and sick Pokemon until it met you and decided you were the loving trainer it needed. All of your Pokemon came with you by choice. If you weren't a good Pokemon trainer, they would not have chosen you out of me, Brock, and Misty. Serena looked at Ash in surprise. She did at least share something in common, or have some sort of bond with each of her Pokemon. He was right. She then looked at her Pokemon and saw them nod their heads. Her Pokemon chose her as their trainer by choice. Thank you, Ash, Serena smiled as she blushed. I really needed to hear that. Anything for you, Serena, Ash said as he and Pikachu gave her a thumbs up. Ash then noticed the two TMs in Serena's hands. So I see you have decided to use the TMs Flint gave you now? Yes, I am. Serena replied. Jigglypuff doesn't want one, but I feel terrible, because Oddish isn't compatible with any of the TMs I have right now. In that case, you can use the one I got at the Celadon gym, Ash said as he pulled a TM from his backpack. Arika gave it to me, right before we left the gym, and said it contained Jiggered Rain. That's really nice of you, Ash, but that's your TM. You should use it on one of your Pokemon, Serena told him. I had offered it to Bulbasaur, but it refused to take it for some reason. Like Jigglypuff, it seemed to only want to win with moves it could learn naturally, but I think it goes deeper than that, Ash replied. 30 Hey, Bulbasaur. Guess what? I just got this really new TM from Erika that contains the move Jiggered Rain. Isn't that great? Ash asked excitedly as he held up the TM for Bulbasaur to see. Saw, the Pokemon muttered as it turned to the side and looked away from its trainer. There was no way it was going to accept help from anything until it could get stronger on its own. Bulbasaur? You don't want to learn Jiggered Rain? Ash questioned with a look of confusion. Is everything okay? Bulbasaur turned to Ash and gave a sigh. It began making various gestures and sounds to give Ash an idea of how it felt. Once it finished, Ash got a look of understanding on his face. He knelt down and rubbed Bulbasaur on the head. Don't say that about yourself, Bulbasaur. You are an outstanding Pokemon. There is no other Bulbasaur in the entire world, since the beginning until the end of time, that I would rather have than you. I'm proud to be the trainer of a Pokemon like you. I'll tell you what, once we leave Celadon City, we can focus on training with types of Pokemon who have an advantage over you. Charla and Charmander would be ideal, as well as Pidgeotto. Serena's Oddish can help as well, so you can focus on getting an advantage on Pokemon of the same type as you, Ash offered. Bulbasaur, the plant dinosaur said happily before leaping into Ash's lap. When we are done training, you will be the strongest Bulbasaur in existence. Ash told it, while Pikachu nodded as well. It seemed Bulbasaur had made the right choice to come with Ash, after all. Everything Pikachu told it back at Melanie's cabin was true. It couldn't wait to start the special training Ash mentioned. It felt a lot better about itself after telling its problem to Ash. 30. I see. That is really sweet of you to train Bulbasaur like that, Serena replied while she placed her hands behind her back. So it's really okay that you are giving me this TM to use on Oddish? Serena asked. Definitely, Ash confirmed as he handed it to her. Serena smiled as she took the TM from Ash. Thank you, Ash, she said before turning to Oddish. Isn't that great? You get to learn a new move, after all. Oddish, the Pokemon replied happily. Have you thought about which Pokemon should get which moves? Ash asked. I have, Serena answered. I've decided to teach Charla the move Dig, Ice Beam to Nidoran, and Jiggered Rain to Oddish. Sounds good to me. Ash approved while giving her his trademark smile that Serena loved so much. Serena smiled back, and then knelt down and placed the devices on each of her Pokemon's heads, and pressed the button. The devices shook slightly for about 10 seconds until they stopped. Serena then took off the devices to see if they had worked. Charla then began to dig a hole with its claws very quickly. It then went into the hole, and appeared out of another one a moment later. Nidoran focused its power into the small horn on its head and soon shot a large stream of ice from it. Oddish seemed to focus its power as well, and its eyes glowed green for a moment. The group could tell it was working just by looking. Awesome job, all of you, Serena said happily. Now let's get some real training in. Serena spent the next hour and a half training her Pokemon for various things. Ash threw in his input every now and then as well. Pikachu helped out by training with some of Serena's Pokemon. She let each Pokemon practice the new attacks they learned. As for Jigglypuff, Serena realized that Jigglypuff was fantastic at dodging attacks in the air, but needed to work on its dodging while fighting on the ground. Since Jigglypuff had a slow running speed, they both learned Jigglypuff traveled faster when it rolled rather than ran. Thus, Jigglypuff was able to perfect its rolling, and learned the move Roll Out in the process. After the training was done, Serena gave all of her Pokemon a hug, rather than patting their head, and gave them some rare candy she bought at the Pokemart earlier for a treat. She then returned her Pokemon to their Pokeballs, and was ready to call it a night. She then turned to Ash. It's getting pretty late now. We should probably get to bed, she said to Ash. Yeah, Ash agreed. We don't want you to oversleep and miss your chance to get an EV tomorrow. The two and Pikachu then began to head back to the Pokemon Center. There was a slight chill in the air, since it was late at night. Serena wrapped her arms around herself to keep warmer. Then Ash did something that she wasn't expecting. He took off his sleeveless jacket and placed around her. I don't want you to catch a cold, he told her. I'll be fine. Serena blushed heavily at the gesture Ash made for her. Thank you very much, Ash, she said gratefully. Serena then pulled Ash a little closer to her, so he could be warm as well. Ash didn't pull away either, which also a pleasant surprise. Pikachu then got in the jacket between the two and snuggled up against both of them. Ash and Serena both smiled at each other as they continued to walk back to the Pokemon Center together. Serena thought lovingly. It was the next day, and the group was standing in front of the Celadon City Battle Chateau. There was a huge crowd of people waiting in line to enter, which surprised the group. It seems a lot of people were eager to win an EV more than anything. As they got in line, the group could see a lot of people leaving the Battle Chateau in a dejected manner. The most likely explanation was they were hobby trainers who didn't have a recommendation to enter. Despite many people being turned away, they still expected there to be a large turnout for the 1-year celebration. With the long line, it would certainly take a while to get in. I'm going against all of these people, Serena said in surprise. Don't sweat it, Serena. Remember all of that training we did last night. You will do fantastic. I know it, Ash reassured her with a thumbs up. Serena smiled at Ash before turning back to the line. Ash was right. Her Pokemon were armed with new moves and had perfected their use because of the training. They were ready. She was ready. She could do this. Once they finally were able to enter the Battle Chateau, there was, of course, another Hennessy to greet them. Serena happily showed him her case to let him know she had already become a Viscountess, and he allowed the group to pass. I'm terribly sorry, madam. I must ask you to find your way to the dressing room yourself today, rather than have an escort. We are very busy today and simply don't have enough staff, I'm afraid, Hennessy said apologetically. That's okay, Hennessy. Thank you. Serena replied with a curtsy as she began to walk down the hallway with her friends. Serena soon left the rest of the group, so she could go change into her typical Battle Chateau outfit. To her dismay, there was even a long line to the dressing room. Serena let out a sigh. This may take a while. Once Serena had changed into her outfit and rejoined the group, they saw a huge crowd of people gathered around something that the group was unable to see. Deciding to see what all of the commotion was about, the group went over to the crowd of people. "What's going on?" Ash asked a person in the crowd. "They are showing off the EV that they are giving away for a prize," a boy exclaimed as he began to fight his way through the crowd to see it. "Oh, I would like to see it too," Serena said excitedly as she joined in on the crowd. Serena finally got close enough in order to get a clear view of the EV. It was standing on the table and had a gentle expression on its face. People were being allowed to introduce themselves to their potential new Pokemon and pet it. Several staff workers and an officer Jenny stood by to make sure the EV wasn't stolen. Once it was Serena's turn to meet Eevee, she went over and smiled at it. "Hello, Eevee," she said happily. "You're so cute." Eevee stared curiously for her at a second before its face broke into a wide grin. It then gave a huge tackle attack to Serena which knocked her to the ground. "Ow!" Serena moaned as she rubbed the spot where Eevee hit her. The group had seen what had taken place with Serena and Eevee, so they went over to see if she was okay. "Are you okay, Serena?" Ash asked as he helped Serena to her feet. "Yeah. I think so," Serena muttered. "I'm really sorry about that," Officer Jenny said apologetically. "This Eevee is very playful. I didn't expect to actually tackle anyone, though. You are the first person it's done that to so far." "Lucky me," Serena mumbled sarcastically. She then decided to try again with the EV. "You are really playful, aren't you, Eevee?" she asked as she went to pet it. Before she was able to, Eevee grinned broadly again and did a tackle attack once more. It again knocked Serena to the ground again. Everyone sweet dropped at the display. "I think Eevee likes you, Serena," Brock said nervously, trying to ease the tension. Yeah," Serena muttered as Ash helped her to her feet again. She decided she better leave Eevee or else she would be too injured to do the tournament. "It was nice meeting you, Eevee," Serena smiled despite her bruise behind and stomach. "VV," it replied back happily. "Be safe, kids, and thanks again for helping our city the other day." Officer Jenny saluted, confirming it was the same one from the power plant. "I can tell you exactly where I would feel safe, Officer Jenny." "In your arms," Brock cried as he suddenly ran up to her. "Oh. Hello again," Officer Jenny asked in confusion. "Or better yet, you could be safe in my arms, then we can feel safe together. And point YOWW." Brock yelled once Misty yanked his ear. "I have a better idea, Brock. Your ear can be safe in my hand forever," Misty said in aggravation as she pulled Brock away. "Ow. Ow. Ow," Brock muttered continuously. As the group walked away from Eevee, Serena decided to get a bottle of water from the nearby vending machine to calm her down. She put some change in the machine and pressed the button for water, but nothing came out. She tried once more, but still nothing came out. Since she couldn't get her water, she pressed the button to get her change back, but that failed too. Serena was beginning to get a little frustrated. "Oh, why isn't this vending machine working?" she muttered in slight aggravation. She was about to go ask Ash for help when another boy who looked her age appeared beside her. He was a thin boy with medium-length black hair and bluish-gray eyes. He gave her a warm smile. "Hold on. I had some problems with this vending machine too. I think I figured out the secret to get your drink, though," he said. The boy then hit a very particular spot on the vending machine with his fist, and a water bottle fell down into the slot. He then gestured for her to get it. "Oh, thank you very much," Serena smiled at the boy as he took it. "No problem. So judging by your clothes, you must be competing in the Battle Chateau today," the boy guessed. "I am. I'm trying rise to the rank of Countess today." "I take it, you are doing the same thing, too," she confirmed. "I'm trying to rise to the rank of Earl. I guess that makes us rivals now, doesn't it? My name is Callum Xavier, the boy introduced as he extended his hand to Serena. I'm Serena Gabina, she smiled as she took the handshake. So if you don't mind me asking, where are you from, Serena? Callum asked. I'm originally from Vanderbilt Town in Calais, but I moved to Pallet Town when I was 7 years old, Serena replied. No kidding. I used to be from the Vanderbilt Town in Calais, also. My family I just moved to Kanto a year ago. We moved to Vermilion City, but now I'm on a Pokemon journey to be the best at the Battle Chateau. Callum exclaimed. You're originally from Calais, also? That's so cool, I found someone else from there. Serena said happily. I'm trying to be the best at the Battle Chateau, also. I'm traveling with my friends right now. Do you have anyone you're traveling with? Unfortunately, no. I'm just going at it by myself, Callum responded. I see, Serena said. But I suppose that teaches one to be a lot more responsible by having to care for themselves. I have a few friends I grew up with who travel alone, also. Yep. That's the idea. Anyway, my match is about to begin. I'll catch you later, Serena. Good luck today, Callum waved. It was nice to meet you as well, Callum, Serena smiled as she watched him walk away. As Serena turned to walk back to the group, she couldn't help but think about the person she just met. Callum was a nice boy, she thought. It was also pretty interesting that he is from Vanderbilt Town as well. Serena was so lost in her thoughts that she didn't notice she had wandered back to the rest of the group with a dazed look on her face. Hey, Serena. What are you thinking about? Ash asked her as she joined them. Huh? Oh, nothing. I just met a really nice boy, Serena replied as she set her eyes on Ash again. Really? Brock asked, interested. Yeah. His name is Callum, and he is from the Kalos region as well, even my hometown. Serena answered with a smile. Wow. That's really cool, Misty commented. MMMHMM. Serena giggled. Yeah. That's great, Ash muttered as he thought about what Serena had said. As Ash was listening to Serena talk about Callum, he felt something really weird inside of his chest. There was some sort of tightness in his chest that he couldn't quite put his finger on. He had never felt this way before. Pick a pie? Ash's faithful rodent inquired once it sensed its trainer was acting a little off. It's nothing, buddy. I'm fine, Ash whispered to Pikachu as he included himself in the conversation as well about Callum. What a weird feeling that was, Ash thought to himself. May the dame and Bo please curtsy and bow to one another respectively, the judge called. Serena smiled and curtsied to a medium-sized brown-haired boy across the room. The boy bowed politely in response. This is an official battle for the Battle Chateau tournament. There will be no time limit. Begin, the judge yelled. Nidoran. I choose you. Serena called as she threw the Pokeball to release Nidoran. A Nidoran, huh? In that case, I'll choose Graveler, the boy said as he threw the Pokeball forward to release a gray, rock-looking Pokemon with many jagged edges. A Graveler, Serena muttered as she pulled out her Pokédex. Graveler, the rock Pokemon and the evolved form of Geodude. This Pokemon moves around mostly by rolling. It rolls over any object in its path, it said. So it's a rock type. Good thing I taught Nidoran Ice Beam, Serena said to herself. Graveler, let's do your rock throw, the boy, who Serena heard was named Tyler, called. Graveler summoned many rocks from seemingly nowhere and threw them at Nidoran. Dodge those rocks, Nidoran. Serena called. Nidoran watched as the rocks approached it and jumped over the rocks. It even began to jump on top of the rocks. Serena had learned that trick from watching Pikachu at the Pewter Gym. Use double kick. Serena commanded. Nidoran then leaped off of the boulders towards Graveler. It then brought its legs back and delivered 2 solid kicks to Graveler's front. Graveler reeled back in pain from the super effective hit but soon recovered. Not bad. Let's see you stand up to our all-out attack. Tyler said as his Graveler curled into a ball and then began rolling at a high speed straight to Nidoran. Use Ice Beam, Serena called. Nidoran charged up power to its horn and unleashed the Ice-type attack, but Graveler quickly rolled out of the way. It continued on and slammed into Nidoran, sending the poison pin Pokemon flying backwards. Graveler then turned away to build up more speed for its rollout. Nidoran got up and watched Graveler in defiance. Try Ice Beam again, Nidoran, Serena told it. Nidoran once again shot an Ice Beam at Graveler. Like last time, Graveler quickly rolled out of the way and crashed into Nidoran. This time it hit a lot harder due to rollout's power increasing with each successive hit. Nidoran gave a yelp of pain as it flew backwards once more and hit the ground hard. Your Ice Beam won't work. Graveler is too fast, Tyler shouted at her in triumph. Serena grimaced. That boy was right. As long as Graveler was using rollout, she could lose, so there had to be a way to stop it. Come on, Serena. You can do it, she heard Ash call. What would Ash do in this situation? Serena thought. He would make sure Graveler stopped its rollout attack, probably by throwing it off balance. That's it. Nidoran, use Ice Beam on the floor, Serena yelled. Nidoran obeyed and began to shoot Ice Beam all over the floor. Pretty soon the floor was completely covered in ice and had become quite slippery. Graveler was having a really hard time staying balanced due to how slick the floor was. It was wobbling horribly and had slowed significantly. It soon had no choice but to stop once it fell over on the icy field. Now use Ice Beam on Graveler, Serena called. Nidoran shot its Ice Beam once more. Without rollout, Graveler was too slow to dodge and was hit dead on by the freezing beam of ice. It roared in pain in the super effective attack. Finish it off with one more double kick, Serena told Nidoran. Nidoran then gave a slight jump and began sliding across the ice towards Graveler, who was still trying to recover from the Ice Beam. Nidoran wounded its legs, jumped at Graveler, and gave two more powerful kicks to it. Nidoran then backflipped and landed gracefully on the ice. Graveler roared in pain again and, unlike Nidoran, fell ungracefully onto the ice in a crumpled heap. It didn't get up. Graveler is unable to battle. The winner is Nidoran, the judge called. Tyler sadly returned his Graveler to its Pokeball and left the room. That was great, Serena, Ash called as he ran towards her with the rest of the group. Unfortunately, he forgot the floor was ice now. He slipped and fell on his bottom. Pikachu fell as well, since it had been on Ash's shoulder, and gave Ash a glare. Serena giggled at Ash's clumsiness as she went over and pulled Ash up. Thank you, Ash, she replied once she did so. Turning the field to ice to throw Graveler off balance was pretty smart, Brock praised. The judge then came up to the group. Yeah, it's times like this why we prepare, he said as he pressed a button on a remote he got from his pocket. The icy floor of the room lowered under the ground. It was soon replaced with a brand new lush carpet. Hee hee, sorry, Serena said as she rubbed her neck. No problem. We've had worse messes to clean up, even today, the judge replied before leaving. Nidoran then ran up to the group. Serena smiled and knelt down to it. You did wonderful, Nidoran. Thank you, she said happily. Expect some good food to come your way. Naya. Naya. Nidoran replied, equally as happy. Then something strange happened. It began to glow white. Nidoran? Serena questioned once she saw what was happening. Your Nidoran is evolving, Brock said excitedly to Serena. The glowing Pokemon grew larger until the glow stopped. In place of Nidoran was a Pokemon that looked similar to it. The difference was this Pokemon was larger with spiny ears and claws on each of its feet, a Nidorina. Wow. Serena exclaimed happily as he pulled out her Pokédex to scan it. Nidorina, the poison pin Pokemon and the evolved form of the female Nidoran. Its horn develops slower than a Nidorino's. It prefers to use its teeth and claws to fight, the Pokédexes said. That's really great, Serena. I'm really happy for you. Ash said. Thanks, Ash. Serena replied with glee. She then turned to her new Nidorina and gave it a big hug. Congratulations, Nidorina. Nidorina, it replied. The next few battles with Serena had gone by, and she had won them both. She used her Oddish in the second round, where it barely beat a Tentacool. She realized she would have to have some more practice battles with Oddish, so it could get stronger. She then used Jigglypuff, where it handily put the beating on a matchup, rather than the other way around. For all its cuteness and singing talent, Jigglypuff sure wasn't a pushover in battle. It still seemed to have obedience issues with Serena. She would have to work on that. Now she was prepared for the final battle, and decided to use Charla, since her other Pokemon needed a rest. Serena had her Charla outside of its Pokeball at the moment, and was having a pep talk with it. Alright, Charla. We've got this. You just learned a new attack last night, and we can take down any Pokemon or trainer. No matter who they are. Serena told Charla with determination. Char. It replied with enthusiasm. It then looked at Ash and pointed at his Charmander's Pokeball. Oh. Ahahaha. You want Charmander to wish you luck too, right? Ash asked, receiving a nod from Charla. He then released Charmander, and Charla immediately went over to it to see if it had anything to say. Ash's Charmander got a nervous expression on its face, and muttered something to Charla. Charla immediately turned red, and gushed. That's a pretty amorous Pokemon you have there, Serena said, an amused voice behind the group. They spun around, and saw Callum standing there with a smile on his face. Oh, Callum. It's nice to see you again, Serena said as she did a curtsy. The pleasure is mine, Callum replied as he bowed back. Ash frowned at the exchange, but he didn't know why. Ah, so this is Callum, Brock realized. Serena had just told us about you. I'm Brock. I'm Misty, Misty introduced. It's nice to meet you too, Callum said politely. He then turned to Ash, who had been oddly quiet since Callum came up. Are you one of Serena's friends, too? Yes. I am. My name is Ash Ketchum, he said. Callum, the black-haired boy said as he brought his hand up for Ash to shake. Ash stared at the open hand for a little longer than necessary before he realized he was being rude and shook it. Nice to meet you, too, he replied with a forced smile. As Ash was shaking Callum's hand, he felt that weird tension in his chest again. What was that strange feeling? Once they released each other from the handshake, Callum turned to Serena again. I heard that you won all your challenges so far, and made it to the finals. Congratulations. Thanks. Serena responded. How have you done? I've won all my battles as well. It looks like we will be competing in the final round, Callum told her. That's great. Serena said happily. I can't wait to battle you. We have Vanadil Town pride on the line, don't we? We sure do. Callum grinned. I'll see you in the battle room. He then walked off. Well, he seems like a nice boy, Misty commented. He is. It was great to meet somebody else from Kalos, Serena agreed. Yeah, Ash said rather quietly. This feeling in his chest right now was beginning to bug him. Choo? Pikachu asked Ash again. Really, buddy? I'm fine. I just feel strange right now, Ash replied. Brock, however, noticed Ash's expression as a look of concern crossed his face. I wonder, he thought. Serena and Callum were now standing on opposite sides of the battle room. Both had looks of determination on their faces. Despite becoming fast friends, the two knew they weren't going to go easy on each other, so they had to give it their all. Ash, Pikachu, Brock, Misty, and Charmander were on the sides watching the battle. Charla had requested that Ash's Charmander stay out of its Pokeball and watch it battle for once. The final battle for today's Battle Chateau Challenge will now take place. The winner shall rise in rank and receive the Pokemon EV also as a special gift to celebrate our 1-year anniversary, the judge yelled. Please bow and curtsy to one another. Serena smiled at Callum and curtsied. Callum bowed back then waved at Serena using his tie which caused her to giggle. Ash frowned again once he saw that. There was that tightness in his chest again. You may choose your Pokemon, the judge announced. Go Charla. Serena yelled. Go Dodrio. Callum yelled also. Serena's Pokeball opened to reveal Charla, while Callum's Pokeball opened, and a large bad Pokemon with no wings and 3 heads appeared squawking loudly. Oh wow. A Dodrio. Serena said, in surprise as she scanned it. She had seen a lot of new Pokemon today. Dodrio, the triple bad Pokemon and the evolved form of Dodo. It uses its 3 brains to make complex plans. While 2 heads sleep, 1 stays awake, the monotonous Pokédex voice said. I don't like the looks of this match, Brock said seriously. Dodrio is a very powerful and fast Pokemon. I hate to say it, but I don't know if Charla can handle it. Come on, Serena. You can do it. Ash hollered. Charla. Charmander called to Charla. Serena knew she had her work cut out for her right now. Charla's newly learned move of Dig would be useless against Dodrio, because it was a flying type, even though it couldn't technically fly itself. She would have to rely on Charla's fire attacks to cause substantial damage, as well as a little bit of luck. She had no doubt Callum was a good trainer, if he made it this far and already risen in rank once. You may now begin, the judge yelled. Let's start this off with a quick attack, Dodrio. Callum hollered. Dodrio was already a fast Pokemon. This was only heightened by the move it was using. Dodrio burst forward with great speed. Before Charla could blink, Dodrio rammed into it and sent it flying. Now you spec. Callum said next. Charla hadn't even hit the ground, yet before it was struck by one of Dodrio's sharp beaks. Charla was knocked to the ground, and Dodrio's heads took turns ruthlessly pecking Charla with their beaks. Charla was getting pummeled pretty badly. Try to use Ember, Charla. Serena cried. Charla fought through the pain and managed to shoot out several embers at Dodrio. They connected and Dodrio yelped in pain. However, Dodrio seemed to get more aggravated than anything. It began to ruthlessly peck Charla again. If Serena didn't know better and Callum wasn't a nice guy, it would have looked like a bully picking on a poor, small Pokemon. Charla was huddled in a ball trying to protect itself from the onslaught of pecks. Dodrio seemed to tire of doing this, and rammed Charla with one of its heads once more, sending it flying, and onto the ground a short distance away. Charla, it muttered weakly before its tail flame began to shoot up, because Blaze had been activated. Serena knew Blaze would be her only chance, unless a miracle occurred. Charla used Flamethrower. Serena yelled. Charla shot its Flamethrower at Dodrio, where it was engulfed by the flames. The Flamethrower seemed to do a good deal of damage this time, but Dodrio was still willing to fight. Use Tree Attack. Callum yelled. Use Flamethrower once more Charla. Serena countered. Charla launched its Flamethrower, while Dodrio shot out a spiral beam that had both electricity, fire, and ice flowing through it. The attacks collided midway which caused an explosion. Charla was knocked backwards by the blast, while Dodrio was pushed back, but held its ground. Charla was now lying face down on the floor, and not getting up. Charla. Are you okay? Serena asked in worry. Misty sighed sadly. There is no doubt Charla is a great battler. It just couldn't keep up with Dodrio's speed and power. Looks like we did it, Dodrio. Well done. Callum praised Dan. Gave a thumbs up to his Pokemon. Dodrio squawked happily in return. Charla began struggling to get up, but kept falling down again each time. Even its Blaze wasn't helping at the moment. Come on, Charla. You can do it. Serena encouraged. Charla was pushing itself up with its hands as it began to sweat. It wanted to stand up for its trainer, but it was too weak. This Dodrio had totally outmatched it. If only it was a little stronger. Charla then looked to the sides and saw all of Serena's friends cheering for it. It then saw Ash's Charmander doing the same thing. It could do this. It then searched for a hidden power within itself and found it. This power was something that Blaze couldn't give it. I hate to attack your Pokemon again, Serena, but it's the only way for the match to end since your Pokemon won't stay down. Use Peck one more time, Dodrio. Callum said. As Dodrio began to run towards Charla to give the finishing attack, Charla gave a mighty push with its hands and sprung onto its feet, surprising everyone how fast it did so. Charla. Charla cried as it became engulfed in a bright white light, which caused Dodrio to stop in its tracks. It can't be. Charla is evolving. Too, Serena mumbled in amazement as she and everyone else watched. Soon Charla stopped glowing and had become an entirely new Pokemon. Like Charmander, the Pokemon was lizard-like, only it was dark red in color with a cream belly. It had a horn on the back of its head. It also sported the same flaming tail Charmander had. Charla had now evolved into a Charmeleon. That's so cool, Serena. Serena heard Ash shout. That's your second Pokemon to evolve today. Serena smiled happily and scanned Charla's new form with her Pokédex. Charmeleon, the flame Pokemon and the evolved form of Charmander. It has razor-sharp claws, and its tail is exceptionally strong, said the Pokédex. Congratulations on your Charmander evolving, but it isn't enough to beat Dodrio. Use Peck. Callum ordered. Dodge it, Charla. Serena called. Charla gave a mighty leap into the air. Dodrio stopped to look in surprise for a moment, until Charla landed on Dodrio's back. Dodrio then began to thrash around wildly trying to get Charla off. Serena couldn't help but be reminded of riding her mother's Rhyhorn as a little girl when she saw this. Come on, Dodrio. Get that Charmeleon off of you. Callum yelled. Dodrio then turned one of its heads around to use Tree Attack, but Serena was ready. Quick. Use Flamethrower, Charla. Serena said. Charla then shot the Fire Attack right in Dodrio's face before it used Tree Attack. Dodrio's three heads and necks were engulfed in the fire. Dodrio then stood, momentarily dazed from the close-range fire attack. Its heads and neck were completely black. Now use Metal Claw. Serena yelled. Charla's claw glowed white as it slashed at Dodrio, who cried out from the pain. Dodrio then gave a mighty jerk which threw Charla off. Charla landed on its back but quickly got up, ready for more. It then ran up to Dodrio, who was about to launch another Tree Attack, and gave it a hard slap with its fiery tail. Dodrio reeled back as Serena gave a final command. Use Flamethrower one more time, Charla. Serena shouted. Use Tree Attack, Dodrio, Callum yelled. Both Pokemon charged their respective attacks, but Charla was just a little quicker after all the training it did with Serena to perfect it. Dodrio was once again engulfed in the Flamethrower. All three heads then coughed a puff of smoke before falling over onto the ground. Can you stand, Dodrio? Callum asked worriedly. Dodrio tried to stand up but fell back down with swirly eyes which signaled it had been defeated. Dodrio is unable to battle. The winner of today's Battle Shadow tournament and Eevee is Serena Gabina of Pallet Town, the judge announced. I won. Thank you, Charla. You were amazing. Serena cried happily as she ran towards her newly evolved Charmeleon and gave it a huge hug. Charla said happily. Callum sighed as he returned Dodrio and thanked it for a good job. He then went over to Serena and smiled. That was a great match, Serena. Well done. Dodrio is one of my strongest Pokemon. You're a great Pokemon trainer, he said as he extended his hand for Serena to take. Thanks, Callum, Serena smiled as they shook hands. That was an awesome match, Serena. Ash called as he and everyone else ran to join them. Serena giggled. Well, I couldn't have done it if it wasn't for Charla. She then mimicked a line she heard from Ash a few times. Do I have the greatest Pokemon, or what? Charla smiled at Serena. Then it noticed Ash's Charmander staring up at it in nervousness. Charla frowned. Having that Pokemon still be a Charmander will not do. It would need to evolve soon. Having a small boyfriend like that felt really weird. Well done with today's tournament, madam. It pleases me greatly to award you with this certificate showing your new rank of Countess as well as this EV. Hennessy said as he gave Serena a Pokeball and certificate to put in her case. Thank you very much, Hennessy. Serena said gratefully. You're halfway there, Serena. Ash smiled while giving her a thumbs up. Serena then decided to get acquainted with her new Pokemon. Come on out, Eevee, she called as she released it. Eevee appeared from the Pokemon and looked around before setting its eyes on Serena. Serena knelt down to be more eye level at it. Guess what, Eevee? It turns out I'm your new trainer. I'm very happy to have you come along with me and know we'll make a great team. VV. Eevee said happily before it tackled Serena again. Well, those two are going to hit it off quickly. Brock said while he and everyone else sweet dropped once more. Hehehe, yeah, Serena muttered a little dazedly. About 10 minutes later, the group was outside the battle chateau with Callum with everyone back in their normal clothes. Callum seemed to like a red hat on his head when he wasn't competing at the battle chateau. So I guess we are going different ways now, Serena said sadly. Yeah, Callum agreed. I'm heading off to Fuchsia City while you guys are heading to Saffron City. I'd come with you, but I was just there. It was a really big city. That's too bad. We'll see each other again, right? Serena asked hopefully. Who knows? We'll just have to see. I'll be rooting for you, though, Callum said as he gave her a thumbs up. That's my signature gesture, Ash thought to himself. I wish the best for you, too, Serena smiled. It was nice to meet all of you. Callum said as he raised his hand in farewell. You too, Callum. Brock and Misty replied with a smile. Ash merely nodded his head. Callum then turned and walked the other direction to leave. Bye, Callum. Serena waved happily. She continued to do this until he rounded a corner and was out of sight. She then turned to the rest of the group. We should start heading to Saffron City now. We don't want to fall behind from everyone, right? Yeah, Ash agreed as he was reminded of Gary and Paul. He had no doubt they both had 5 badges by now, because of how long the group spent in Celadon City. Well, why don't we stock up on supplies and head out? It's only 4 o'clock so there is still some time to get some traveling in, Brock suggested. Great. Saffron City. Here we come. Ash said enthusiastically as they began to walk. You sure had an eventful day, Serena, Misty commented. You rose in rank at the Battle Chateau. Charla and Nidroran evolved. You got a new Pokemon, and to top it off, you made a new friend in Callum. Yeah. Serena agreed happily. I had a great day. As they were leaving, Ash didn't know what compelled him to ask this, but he felt like he had to. Hey, Serena. Callum is just a friend, right? He asked. Yeah. He is just a friend, Serena confirmed, being the oblivious one for a change. It was strange. Ash felt a huge wave of relief come over him once he heard Serena say that Callum was just a friend. What were these feelings right now? Maybe he'll understand in the future. Misty, Brock, and Pikachu caught on, however, and gave a knowing glance to each other. The 3 of them were thinking the same thing. Ash was feeling jealousy. I hate jail. This place is disgusting. We are too good for this place, Biff, Cassidy muttered in her jail cell that she shared with Butch. She was sitting on the hard wooden bed with her legs and arms crossed in an angry manner. I told you before my name Ice. Never mind, Butch trailed. He was too humiliated at being in jail to argue with Cassidy. He was sprawled out on the floor with his arms and legs far apart staring at the ceiling. I can't believe those brats outdid us, as well, Cassidy grumbled, ignoring Butch's comment. If we get out of here, they will definitely pay, Butch added as he clenched his fists. It was then that a guard came up to the jail cell. You two have 3 visitors here. Do you want to see them? Why not? Cassidy mumbled. It's not like we can sink any lower. The guard nodded and left the room. About a minute later, the visitors walked in, and Butch and Cassidy immediately glared. The trio may have been wearing casual clothes to hide their identities, but that didn't change the fact that Butch and Cassidy knew who it was. Well. You do look better in stripes than I do. Jesse taunted. What are you clowns doing here? Cassidy growled. She and Butch stood up to face them. Tut tut. Is that any way to treat the people who are bailing you out? Jessie smirked as she wagged her finger. Yeah. Orders from the boss, James confirmed. I can't believe it. The boss sent you 3 to bail us out. Butch groaned. Yes. The boss is busy right now with our next plan, so he sent us, Jessie replied. Fine. Just bail us out already, Cassidy muttered. We might if you say please, Jessie said with an amused smile. She, James, and Meow were enjoying this way too much. Never. Cassidy shouted. Oh, what a shame, Jessie said in mock hurt as she rubbed her eyes. If you can't be nicer, I guess we will just leave and tell the boss we couldn't afford your bail. He'll understand. The 3 then turned to leave. Wait. Butch yelled as he grabbed the bars of the cell desperately. Yeez? James asked slowly as he, Jessie, and Meow turned their heads around. Ooh, let us out, please. Butch mumbled. But, Biff. Now let's hear it from Cassidy, James smirked. Just do it, Cassidy. It's not like things can get any worse, Butch muttered, ignoring the fact that James called him by the wrong name. Fine. Please let us out, Cassidy growled through gritted teeth, swallowing every bit of her pride. Now say Jessie, James, and Meow are the best. Jessie taunted in triumph. Cassidy let out another growl. Don't push it, she warned. Fine, Jessie sighed. We'll be back in a few minutes. About 10 minutes later, the guard came to the door and opened the jail cell for Butch and Cassidy. You two are free to go and stay out of trouble, he said. Cassidy and Butch then walked out of the Celadon prison and saw Jessie, James, and Meow were waiting for them next to a helicopter which a grunt was piloting. The two didn't even spare Jessie, James, and Meow a glance as they passed by them to get into the helicopter. They couldn't believe they were humiliated this badly in front of their greatest rivals. Once everyone was in the helicopter, it lifted off the ground and took off. Cassidy sighed as she sat down and rested her head on one of her hands. So where are we heading? She asked the trio. You two might want to change into more suitable clothes for this, Jessie said as she handed Cassidy and Butch each a Team Rocket uniform. We are on our way to Saffron City to prepare for the boss's big plan. I'm feeling giddy, James answered. Saffron City? Does that mean? Butch began in a surprised tone. Yep. Meow interrupted. Team Rocket is taking over the Sylph Company.